basically I'm going to go through some of the problems that you might face doing something like a salute to the sun, because salute to the sun is the thing that people associate with Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, but it's also used in all Vinyasa yogas. And in the world of modern yoga, flow yoga is very popular, and the salute is often used as a linking movement between different postures. So let me just go through the basic salute to the sun, and I'm going to just count the numbers of the poses. There's 10 vinyasas, 10 linked movements, and it's 5 breaths, supposedly. First of all, when you're doing this, it's a mistake to force the breath. In the beginning, the best breath is your own natural breath, but if you move correctly in your practice, the breath will come exactly as was pre-designed. Okay, so let me just go through the movements first in their intermediate level form, and then I'm going to show you easier versions and potential hard versions. What I started saying before, when I had the sound problem, was the problems that can exist when you do the salute to the sun is when you first bend forward, you can damage your hamstrings and your lower back in a forward bend, and you have to know how not to let that happen. When you put your hands on the floor, come back to the push-up, the risk is that you damage your wrists, and we have to know how not to let that happen. When you come to the first upward-facing dog, your lower back can crush, and we have to make sure that doesn't happen. When you come to a downward-facing dog, often people's shoulders go, and we don't want that to happen either. And so be cautious, be gentle in what you do. Just watch these movements. I'm going to count through them. And what I started saying before was that best if you're doing stuff with me, and I invite you to do the practice with me, is face me. And so that way you'll see me in front of you, but I'm going to sometimes face sideways so you see a side view of me. So the movements of the salute to the sun very simply are arms up position, number 1. And notice if you look in all the traditional textbooks, the shoulders are right past the ears. And number 2 position is hands to the floor, and there's nothing wrong with bending the knees. Number 3 position is arch up, lift up the head. Perhaps come to the toe tips as you lean on the hands. Perhaps even lift into a half handstand. Position number 4 is the simple push-up position, which can be made easier kneeling. And you don't even have to bend all the way down, but it could be something like that, even on the top of the feet. Position number 5 is the upward facing dog pose, which I like to use a simple option as a simple cobra like this, where you push down on the feet and pull with the elbows while relieving the wrists. Or you could use the Shalabhasana position and just lift up and arch the back. Or you could do the full upward facing dog without letting the back collapse. And number 6 position, the downward facing dog, which you could do a kneeling position or a full down dog, and being cautious not to overstretch the shoulders by bringing them too close to the floor, but rather keeping away from the floor, and ensuring you have the drishti. The drishti is the gazing point. You should be able to see your navel. So often what many people do is they pull the abdomen in, flare the chest and lift the sitting bones, and this will overstrain the shoulders, the lower back, the hamstrings and the hips. So better to push the sitting bones down, lift the top of the hips up, ribs up, expand the belly and lift the shoulders away from the floor. Now you can see I've got clear line of sight of the drishti point, the gazing point, the navel, and it's a lot better. You can try this. Go to a dog pose and make it so you can see your navel. And to do that, push your sitting bones down, lift the top of the hips up, lengthen the lower back, lift the ribs up, lift the upper back, and expand the abdomen, and you'll see your navel. And notice it feels quite good on the shoulders, on the hips, on the back, the hamstrings. But now lift the sitting bones, fold forward at the hips, draw the navel to the spine, and expand the chest. And now notice that it's a lot more stress on the shoulders, the hamstrings, the hips, and it's more difficult to breathe for most people. It's not wrong or right, it's just what feels good. And so from this position, go back to what the easier, more correct version is. Sitting bones down, top of hips up, lengthen the lower back, ribs up, lift the upper back, belly expand, and now you can see your navel. Then position 7, bend the knees, raise the head, take the legs to the hands, and lift up the head high, which could be balancing on the arms. And number 9, bend forward, which could have the knees bent. And number 10, come up. I think it's number 9 actually, and then go back down. So then these movements, then if I did them smoothly and easily, could be like this. 1, arms up, inhale. 2, hands down, exhale. 3, lift up the back, inhale. 4, push up position, exhale. 5, upward facing dog, inhale. 6, downward facing dog, exhale. 7, go forward, lift up, inhale. 8, go down, sorry, that's right. 9, come up, and 10 come back together. Now the even numbers are always one part of the breath and the odd numbers are the other part of the breath. So the odd numbers are the inhale, the even numbers are the exhale. 1, inhale, 2, exhale, etc. So even numbers inhale, odd numbers exhale, and it actually happens by itself. So the first movement is important to get right, that you don't overdo it. Once you learn the first movement properly, a lot of relief comes to your back, etc. One of the most common mistakes that people do in all yoga is they don't take the arms up fully. So if all you're doing is this, then you'll find that your lower back becomes crushed. And I'd like you to have a look at me from behind. So you can see here, if I pinch the skin of my lower back, I can pinch it quite easily when my shoulders are down next to my, collarbone. But if I lift my shoulders up high, you can see that the lower back skin is not so easy. And so you can try this for a moment. If you stand with your legs straight and you take your shoulders as far forward, shoulders down and back, you'll feel your shoulders will crush. And this is important that you don't let this happen. So bring your shoulders forward, and that releases the neck a little bit. Even though many people will say, bring your shoulders down, otherwise it squashes the neck. I'd like to suggest that if you want to become young from this practice, then think about what children do. Young children, they don't hang like this. It's actually quite natural, quite good to let the arms go up. But if your neck is stiff, 2 things you can do to take the arms up higher will be, don't take the arms straight up, rather take your arms forward. And that releases the neck. And then you take, try that, try, compare. Push your shoulder blades forward. Now how far can you take your arms? Now compare that with take your shoulder blades backward. Now how far can you take the arms up? And it feels a bit jamming. So do the way that feels less jamming. Take your shoulder blades forward, take up the arms, and there's less jamming. So try that. And one of the things you can do to make that easier to happen is to avoid the classical entry. The classical entry is to come with your arms to turn out and then go up like that. And when people do that, the arms turning out automatically makes the shoulder blades go back. So often people misunderstand the movement should start from the core and work outwards. So in other words, your shoulder blades should be forward, even though the arms turn out. So what I'd like you to try, compare this. Push the shoulder blades forward, then turn the arms out. Keep the shoulder blades forward, bring up the arms. Now come down, relax the shoulders, turn your arms outward, let the shoulder blades go back, go up, and you get a jamming. So what you want to make sure of is when your arms go up, your shoulder blades are forward. So what an experienced person will do is they push the shoulder blades forward, turn the arms out, and keep the shoulder blades forward as they come up. That's tricky. So an easier thing to do, which is often what I will do, and my business partner Bianca Matchless at Yoga Synergy found works better for beginners, is you start by making the back of the hands go forward and up. And that's an easier way, and especially good if you're in a crowded room, taking the arms out wide, you hit people in the head. So bringing the back of the hands together and going up like that, a way of going up. Because one of the things that also happens when people take their arms up high is this. Can you see my back bent backward? And it happens even more if you look up. And so if you feel what this feels like for a moment, let the back bend backwards. So bend the knees a little bit, push your tailbone backward and up and your shoulders backward and down. For 9 out of 10 people, that doesn't feel good. But if you lift up your arms and then lift up your head and then pull the shoulders down and back, that makes the back more squashed. And 9 out of 10 people have the back already very squashed. So to avoid your lower back getting squashed in the very beginning of your practice, it's better if when you begin your salute with your feet together if you wish, but for many people, feet apart is a lot better balance, and there's nothing wrong with it. So when you begin, feet together apart, start with your knees bent. Then let your sitting bones drop down slightly, like a weight on a string, which is your spine, and move forward to the front of your feet. As you move forward to the front of the feet, that will help you engage your lower abdomen. The lower abdomen is the seat of your Mula Bandha. Now, Mula Bandha, many people misunderstand. They think it's to do with the pelvic floor. Whereas, in fact, Mula Bandha relates to the muscles of the lower abdomen. And you can look at me now from the side. If I pull my lower abdomen in and lift my chest, that looks quite good. If I let my chest drop down, let my abdomen relax, that looks quite bad for most people. Yet it's the way children walk. The Mula Bandha involves isolating the lower abdomen by doing that. Can you see my lower abdomen is going in, the upper abdomen is still totally soft. Then I lift the chest. Now the chest itself relates to Uddiyana Bandha, the lower abdomen and perineum relate to Mula Bandha. The Mula Bandha has always two extreme forms, as does the chest. The chest expansion form, which in extreme cases you do with the exhalation retention like this. I breathe in, blow out the air and hold the breath out, then expand the chest as if inhaling to the chest, but not, and you'll see me do this. You see, then I wasn't breathing. I simply expanded my chest. That made my abdomen go inwards. So many people misunderstand Uddiyana Bandha. They think it's about pulling the abdomen inwards. Whereas actually Uddiyana Bandha is about what the chest does. And the chest has got two extreme types of co-activation or muscle activation, where you feel the muscles all around that joint complex become active. And the chest can either use its muscles to expand fully, an expansive Uddiyana Bandha, or to compress fully, a compressive Mula Bandha. Bandhas always have two extreme forms. One expands, one contracts. And when you breathe into the chest, the inhalation is an expansive chest bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. The exhalation is a compressive bandha. But actually at different times in your practice, it's better to hold either a compression or an expansion in the chest. For all weight-bearing positions on the arms, when you're trying to balance on your arms, such as push-up, upward-facing dog, back arches, and things like that, anything which needs to lift up on the arms, anything which involves strength in the trunk, anything which involves protecting your lower back, it's better to have the chest compressed. So if you feel your rib cage like this, if you make a big breath into your chest, you'll feel rib cage muscles become active when you do that. When you let the air out by itself, those muscles go soft. But you can make the same rib cage muscles, which are synonymous with the true Uddiyana Bandha, by exhaling hard from your chest. So careful not to spit at the camera, but if I blow out the air hard and fast from my chest, I feel rib cage muscles become active. Those muscles of chest exhalation are also Uddiyana Bandha. And you can keep those muscles firm. And what tends to happen is when people do that, the abdomen goes in as well, but it doesn't have to. So what I can do is I can control my chest for compression and expansion, and I'll call that Uddiyana Bandha. And I control my abdomen, especially the lower abdomen, for Mula Bandha. The compressive form of Mula Bandha has got two extreme forms. This is one where I draw the lower abdomen in with transversus abdominis, and keep my upper abdomen and lower abdomen relaxed, but you can see it in. If I expand the chest, it looks quite good. But I can also keep my lower abdomen in and push my chest in, then I make this action. It looks a bit funny, it's called Tadagi Mudra. And I can also make an expansive Mula Bandha. An expansive Mula Bandha is one where if you put your fingers into the soft abdomen like this, try it, then lean back, and as you lean back, you'll feel the abdomen pushes out. It expands into the fingers. And when you do that, your abdomen goes very firm. See, I've leaned back. Abdomen is very firm. When I do that and I relax, my front stays firm, but my sides are soft. This is an expression of Mula Bandha as well. But in this form of Mula Bandha, I can breathe into my abdomen. Try it. Inhale here. And it's possible. What you don't want to do is the version of Mula Bandha in your practice where the abdomen is held firm in a way when you can no longer breathe there. And this is the version when you take a breath in and you tighten your pelvic floor, and then I'll put my fingers into my soft abdomen. If I exhale fully and pull my navel away from my fingers and really harden my abdomen with my exhaling muscles, keep those muscles firm. Try and breathe into your abdomen. And you can't. It feels stressful, it feels tense. That goes pretty much against all that's going to be beneficial for a practice. And the only times you would do that would be in different forms of pranayama, different forms of breath control. And those muscles that I tightened there were the same ones that I would use if I'm doing an exhalation retention with bandha like this. You'll see me blow out my air. I'm going to hold my breath out. I'll just touch my nose to tell you I'm holding my breath out. Then I'm going to expand my chest as if breathing in, but not, an expansive Uddiyana Bandha. Then you'll see my abdomen still soft. Then I'm going to tighten my abdomen with a strong compressive Mula Bandha, which is the one that is not a good idea to use except in special cases like I'm doing now. But you'll find many people use it the whole way through their practice, and it causes stress. It causes lower back problems, it causes inability to breathe properly, it causes overbreathing, and it causes long-term problems in your digestive, immune, and reproductive system. Let me show you. I breathe in, and then I exhale fully and pull the navel to the spine. I hold the breath out, my breath held out, I relax my abdomen, expand the chest without breathing. You'll see my abdomen soft. Then I'm going to tighten my abdomen like exhaling, but not, using oblique exhalation muscles. Watch. Maybe you could see them, these two muscles on the side here. These are the muscles of forced abdominal exhalation. It's what you'll get if you take a breath in and tighten your pelvic floor and then exhale fully, and you'll feel your abdomen pull away from your fingers. If your fingers are inside the abdomen, exhale fully. Pull the navel toward the spine. So the abdomen sucks away from your fingers and pulls in without your chest lifting. That set of muscles is a Mula Bandha you do not want. Once those muscles are tight, you will not be able to breathe into your abdomen. You will not have any power to lift up into handstands. You will feel lower back pain and you'll be very stiff in your spine. So the abdomen tightness that you want most of the time is one where the abdomen is firm in a way where you're also calm. The expression in Sanskrit is sthira sukham asanam. Firm but calm. And to feel that in its simplest way, I want you to round your back out with the back lengthened, push the pubic bone forward and lean back, and then you'll feel your front is firm, but if you relax everything, relax your fingers, lift the collarbone so you don't squash the spine, check the neck is free, check your shoulders are relaxed, relax the pelvic floor, and feel your abdomen, it's firm. But if I ask you to breathe in the abdomen, you can breathe, but there's no stress. And when I'm really relaxed, and you could be relaxed too, you should be able to feel the front firm, but the sides totally soft. What does this look like? This is Nauli. And in the advanced Kriya practice, which is meant to be learned before you begin asana in the system of Hatha Yoga, Nauli was meant to be learned first, and it is this. When done properly, I've exhaled fully, held the breath out, expanded the chest without breathing, then activated this Nauli, which is an expression of Mula Bandha like this. And the Nauli can also rotate left and right side. But the central expression of Nauli, that's the movement that you want to have in the handstand that you lift up into, the upward facing dog, and all the sit-up positions. And even when you bend forward. When this muscle comes on and becomes an expression of your Mula Bandha, it makes it so much easier and so much safer to bend forward. So what I'd like you to try now is these simple movements of salute to the sun, and just notice the difference if you do what I said. Start with your knees a little bit bent, then round the back out, bring your shoulders forward and up, and then we're going to lift the head up. But to lift the head up, don't lift the chin. Always move from your core. So before the head lifts, expand your abdomen. Expand the belly, then the chest, and move your throat forward, chin up. Now bring your chin in and try the opposite, just to check what I'm saying makes sense. Pull in your abdomen. Now try and lift the chin up and notice it doesn't feel so nice. So bring your chin in before your chin lifts. Expand the abdomen, then move your throat forward and chin up. That feels a lot better. Now bend the knees a little bit, and to bend forward, don't just fold forward the hips. To bend forward, round out your lower back, then bring your shoulders forward and bend from the spine first, chin up, hips and knees second. Put the palms to the floor, then bring your head down if comfortable. And if your palms are on the floor with your head down, then you might consider straightening the knees, but don't force. Come back up. Just to compare why I'm asking you to do that, just compare it with the way many people teach. So I'd like you to start with your legs straight, and instead of pushing your sitting bones forward, push the sitting bones backward. Push your sitting bones backward and up, straighten the legs and bend forward, and you'll find it does not feel so good. So bend the knees to come up, push the sitting bones forward, come up. When you bend forward, push the sitting bones forward, bend from the spine first, hips second, head third, and maybe the legs straighten last. But when the legs straighten, keep a sense of the sitting bones pushing toward the feet. And when you come up, push the hips toward the toes. Bend the knees helps as you come up, lengthening the back first, then the arms, then expand the belly, chest, and throat. And then before you lower your arms, let the back round outwards slightly before the arms come down. That way, before your head lifts, the belly expands. Before your head goes down, the lower back expands, and your core moves first. Your core is really right between the base of Mula Bandha and the Uddiyana Bandha. So the base of Uddiyana Bandha is your diaphragm. The top of Mula Bandha is your diaphragm. And the base of the Mula Bandha is your perineum. And what we've got is the core of your body is between the navel and the pelvic floor inside. So all the movements have to start from there. Okay, so when we're doing the salute then, one of the next movements that we do after bending forward is lifting into the air. Now, many people don't do it. They do this. Many people will go 1, arms up, 2, hands to the floor, and then 3, they arch the back, come to the fingertips. Now, if you arch the back and come to the fingertips, how are you going to get to 4? What, put your hands back on the floor and jump back to a push-up? Because once you put your hands back on the floor, that's like 3.5. So what you could do is actually lift up into the air into a handstand, which has several possibilities. So 1, arms up, 2, hands to the floor, 3, lean on your hands, and if comfortable, you take all the weight on your hands, and so all the weight in your hands could even lift you into the air like that. And that could be 3. But that movement to lift in the air will not happen if your back is arched. You can try it. So if you feel for a moment you might lift into a hand balance, a handstand, try it with your back rounded outwards. Do this. Push your pubic bone up, your belly out, your shoulders forward, and your chin up. Then put your hands on the floor, lean on the hands, and then try and feel that you could lift up in the air. Now come back up. When you're taking all the weight on your hands, the wrists could go. So you have to make sure that your wrists are stable. So one of the ways to make sure the wrist is stable is by applying a bandha to the wrist, the co-activation of the muscles around the wrist. So the wrist is more stable, not just if you spread the fingers. You have to feel your palms are flat on the floor and your fingers are trying to grip the floor. So it's palms flat, fingers grip. So just try that for a moment. You can have your knees a bit bent, put your palms on the floor, then make your fingertips press down so the fingertips go white. Then lean on your hands, take the shoulders over the fingers and feel how supported the wrists feel. Now come back up. Now this time, just to see this works for you, spread the fingers and keep the fingertips slightly lifted. And then if you do that, which is what many people teach, lean onto your hands, notice the wrist generally won't feel as good. So come back up, better. When you put your weight on your hands, have the palms flat, but grip with the fingers as if you're trying to tear a section out of your mat, as if you're trying to grab the mat. So palms flat, fingers grip, then bring the shoulders over the fingertips, round the back out, lean on your hands and apply these instructions. Raise the heels up if you can, all the weight on the hands if you can. Push the sitting bones down. Lift the top of the hips up and lengthen your lower back. Lift the ribs up, lift the upper back. Then expand the belly and move your throat forward, chin up. Then breathe into your abdomen as you get the feeling of lifting up. And that's the feeling that will take you up into the air, eventually to a freestanding handstand, but at least enough to float back to a push-up perhaps. Now, just to make sure this makes sense to you, I'd like you to try the opposite set of instructions. Because when in that position, I say to you, push the sitting bones down, lift the top of the hips up, lengthen the lower back, lift the ribs in and up, round out the upper back, and expand the abdomen, breathe into the abdomen. That sounds opposite to what many people are teaching. So I'd like you to try what I hear around the world many people teaching. Try this. From this position, lean on the hands, push the sitting bones up away from the floor, fold forward from the hips, pull the abdomen into the spine, open the chest, and then exhale, tighten the abdomen and breathe into the chest, try and lift up. And generally most people, unless you've been practicing like this all your life, are going to find that feels a lot more difficult. So you could check that if you want. Now check the way I suggested and you'll find this is a better way of doing it for most people, and it's the way that I believe it was meant to be done in the first place. So the way that I suggest is better. Palms flat, fingers grip, and lean on the hand, shoulders over the fingertips. Push the sitting bones down toward the feet, lift the top of the hips up, lengthen the lower back, lift the ribs up, lift the upper back, then expand the belly, chest and throat. And here your abdomen should feel a little bit firm when you breathe into it. How's it going to be firm? But if you breathe into a firm abdomen in that position, which is learned in this position, leaning back, then when you breathe in, you're firm, but you're calm. You're strong, but relaxed. How can you learn to get this feeling? Well, you can do it like this. This feeling is the same feeling that you have when you do a half sit-up. So try the feeling of coming to kneel or sit on the floor like this, on your feet with the knees bent. Roll back onto your lower back like this. And then from that position, notice the front is firm, the sides are soft. Here, front firm, side soft. If you can't do this, you definitely can't do a handstand. So this is one of the most important positions. If you can learn how to be bending forward against the field of gravity with your front firm and your side soft while able to comfortably breathe, this position you can see is the same position that I'm asking you to do before you bend forward. It is that same position. Can you see this is a half sit-up, except I've got my chin up. So what you want is to feel like when you bend forward, push your pubic bone forward and up, belly out, then bring your collarbone closer to your pubic bone. And if you lean back slightly, the front firm is side soft, just like a half sit-up. And then your aim will be to learn how to keep that feeling of front firm, side soft by pushing collarbone and pubic bone together, chin up as you bend forward. Front firm, side soft. Front firm, side soft, hands on the floor. Now I'm pushing my pubic bone forward, pulling my collarbone toward my pubic bone, expanding the abdomen, pressing my hands. And again, I can say sitting bones down, top of hips up, lengthen the back, ribs up, lift the upper back, belly expand, breathe into the abdomen, and then your legs can lift up into the floor a lot easier. And then from there, you float back to the push-up. Now, if you can't lift up to the handstand, then what you can do is from that position, come to the kneeling plank. The kneeling plank, again, push the pubic bone to the hands, the armpits to the thighs. That firms the front. And you push the hands forward and knees back. That firms the back. It also stabilizes your shoulders. Then from there, the kneeling plank. Then you can do number 4, the kneeling push-up. So then we have the possibility that we have pose number 1 in the different ways of doing it. Pose number 2, bend forward here or come to the floor. Pose number 3, lean into the hands enough or lift to a handstand or just walk back to the kneeling plank. And then number 4, lower to the kneeling or full push-up, where in the push-up position, to stabilize a little bit more, you need your armpits pushing to your hips and your hands pushing forward. That tightens above and below the shoulder. So you can feel that if you do this. If you take one arm forward, put the hand under the armpit, push the hand downwards, that tightens the armpit, hand up to armpit downwards, hand upwards, and above and below the shoulder is firm. So when you're on the plank or push up, push the armpit toward the hip, like that, push the hand forward, and below and above the shoulder are firm. Now to stabilize the elbow, notice with my biceps, and you can do it with yourself, make your elbow bend, and notice the biceps is big, enhanced when the palm is up, but when you bring your palm down, biceps is weak. So when you turn your palm up, you've got a much stronger elbow. And you can feel this in a push-up. If this is the shape of the push-up with your hand on the floor, I want you to do the push-up with your hand on the floor, but the palms stay in this shape, but try and grip. The elbows stay in this shape, but try and make them turn up. So you're going to be in this shape in the push-up, but inside your body, you're trying to do fingers grip, turn the palm up, or squeeze the heel of the hand inwards. So palms flat, fingers grip, squeeze the heel of the hand inwards. Try it. In a kneeling plank position to a kneeling push-up, from here to here, or in a full plank position to a full push-up. Better, easy version. Palms flat, fingers grip, squeeze the heel of the hand inwards, elbows over the wrists go down. Come back up, compare. Squeeze the heel of the hand outwards, go down, and it's a lot weaker. So better, as your palms are on the floor, get a feeling you're squeezing the heel of the hand inwards. Try it again. Fingers grip, heel of hand squeeze inwards, go down and come up. Very good. Now the upward facing dog pose, you will learn much better if you understand how to make the front of your body lengthen rather than the back of your body shorten. So what we want in an up dog is this feeling that your front gets longer like this and not your back getting shorter like this. I want you to feel the difference. 1 in 10 people won't notice the difference, but do this. Bend the knees slightly, lengthen the lower back and upper back, which is what you can be when you bend forward and do your Lolasana, lift into the air. Then straighten the back and make the front longer. Lift the collarbone, separate the pubic bone and collarbone, and chin in, lean back slightly. So your front is now longer than it was. Touch collarbone and pubic bone standing normally. Now lift the collarbone, lower the pubic bone, and lengthen the front. You see it's bending backwards, but you did it by lengthening the front. And this, if you lean back, provided you lift the collarbone, lower the pubic bone, there's generally very little stress. This is the up dog that's safer for most people. Now come back up and compare it with the up dog that's not so safe for most people. And that is the up dog when you are squashing the back. So feel the difference. Bend the knees slightly. Don't move collarbone and pubic bone further away. Keep them as they are, and instead shorten the back of the body. So behind the collarbone is the shoulders. Behind the pubic bone is the tailbone. So make the back shorter with your knees bent. Push the tailbone back and up. Pull the shoulders back and down. Now this, for many people, still looks like a back arch, but the back is squashed. It's not wrong, but 1 in 10 people will have difference with it, will have problem with it. So my recommendation is, as you're doing the upward facing dog, learn how to make the front longer and the back not shorter. And to learn that, it's important to learn this position. Start standing, round out the lower back, upper back, make the lower back especially, which is the part that gets the most crushed, long. Push the pubic bone down and forward, expand the belly, lift the collarbone, then bring the shoulders back and lean back. Chin in, neck back, and now you'll feel the front is firm, the sides are soft. You can breathe into the abdomen. Notice I'm very relaxed, and I'm doing the shape of the up dog. So I can do exactly this shape because I learned how to control this muscle and put the same thing here. So now what I'm doing, if you notice, I can feel and compare. You could check for me if you were here. Front is firm, sides very soft. And I'm lengthening my trunk. How am I lengthening the trunk? Well, you can feel it if you're on the floor. You want to get the feeling that you're pulling with your hands. So if you do a simple cobra, you can see it's a simple cobra on the floor like this. Get a sense that your hands are on the floor and they're pulling. So push the pubic bone down, expand the belly out, and pull with the arms. Breathe into your abdomen. And notice that relieves the back. Now release. That's what you want to do in the full up dog, or do this version instead. I actually prefer doing it on my elbows. So I take the elbows on the floor and I pull with my elbows. Then I stretch the wrist and that relieves the wrist out. So you pull the elbows toward you, push the pubic bone down, expand the belly, and breathe into the abdomen. You could also press down with your feet, lift the inner knees, and that strengthens the knees. But how can this be made a mess of? Well, try the opposite instructions. Pull your navel into the spine, so you suck the belly in, and lift the tailbone up and push with your hands. So push with the hands, lift the tailbone, pull in your abdomen, and you can feel it causes stress and compression. Better, try the opposite. Sometimes by going the wrong way, you can find what the right way is, but be cautious. Better, pull with the hands or the elbows, push the pubic bone down, expand the belly, relax the pelvic floor. If I say to you now, breathe into your abdomen, which is where the strength is and where that's going to release your lower back, you're easier able to breathe into the abdomen if your pelvic floor is relaxed. So try this. Tighten your pelvic floor, squeeze your anus, urethra, as if about to stop going to the toilet, if that doesn't sound too funny. Keep the pelvic floor tight. Try and breathe into your abdomen. Notice the breath goes to the chest and it feels stressful. Most people. Now this time relax the pelvic floor, like going to the toilet, but not. Then with the pelvic floor relaxed, now breathe into the abdomen. And notice the breath goes deeper. You see, a deep breath is not one where the chest lifts. A deep breath is one where the pelvic floor expands because it's deep inside the body. And this is important. Now, many people have confused Mula Bandha with the anus, the urethra, and the whole pelvic floor. Whereas clearly it's written in the text that the Mula Bandha relates to lower abdomen, yes, abdomen in general, yes, but also the perineum, the center of the pelvic floor. To control that without tightening the sphincter is important, but better just keep it relaxed than trying to tighten everything unnecessarily. One of the clues to tightening the pelvic floor or the perineum rather than the anus is learning how to control the lower abdomen. Because these muscles, according to physiotherapy studies from the 1980s, when you can control your lower abdomen and pull it in, that triggers the perineum. And you can feel this on yourself. I've seen it many times on real-time ultrasound as a physiotherapist. But what can help you trigger the lower abdomen is tightening the whole pelvic floor. But if you're doing that, you have to then release the pelvic floor afterwards. A better way of doing it for most people is to trigger the lower abdomen and the perineum by shifting the weight to the front of the feet. So try this. First of all, relax your abdomen. Try and pull in the lower abdomen. You can lift your chest if you like, but ensure the abdomen is still soft to touch. There's no need to harden it yet. And then compare. Bring the weight to the front of the feet. Now pull the lower abdomen in and see if it's a bit easier. Relax, bring the weight to the heels, try and pull the lower abdomen in, see if it's a bit harder. Most people find that with the weight on the front of the feet, engaging the lower abdomen is a little bit easier, so it's a clue. Okay? So when we're doing this then, what we want is not to harden the pelvic floor, but to expand it, relax it, and then only engage the lower abdomen, and that will trigger the perineum for most cases. There are times you can also practice tightening the pelvic floor, but just don't keep it on the whole time. There's more about that. Now, I want to do several of these lectures, and if you get a chance and you have the inclination, we have a really good course. And it's called Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, and it's a 40-hour course, which has taken, it's taken 5 years to edit it. I filmed it 5 years ago, and it's a fantastic course, and you can find links to it. I'll put them in there afterwards. And this is something which really goes into so much detail. I'm just giving you hints, and like I said, I'll do more lectures like this, which are free for people to come to whenever they want to. But if you want to really learn something, get that course. And I really explained it a lot more then. Now let's go back to the salute to the sun. So when we're doing the upward facing dog pose then, in the beginning, it's probably a mistake to do the full up dog. Better just do a simple cobra. But if you are doing the up dog, it's really important to think whatever position the body can't do by itself, you shouldn't do. Because otherwise, gravity takes you too far in. So in this position, ask, how high does your body want to be in this position? Notice right now, I'm lifting my collarbone about 10 centimeters off the floor, which means my body is very happy in this position. I'm pushing my pubic bone down, expanding the belly, lifting the collarbone. My body likes this position. It chooses it by itself. Now, if I bring my hands by the side of the ribs, I lift to exactly the same shape in the air, there's no back pain. But if I let my hips drop with gravity, that's when the back pain can start. Because now my hips have gone down away from my collarbone to a place they don't normally get to by themselves. But if your body is strong enough to hold a position like this, then the shape of the up dog like that is fine, because I can be in that position without strain. So you have to ask, how much does your body want to bend first? How much does your body do without the assistance of external forces such as gravity, one limb pulling another, or momentum? Because if your body can't do a position by itself, don't force it there. It's the same with things like the lotus posture. So if I do the lotus posture, I have to ask, do my legs want to do the lotus posture? You see, if we were to force our arms into a cross-legged position, you'd think, if you had to do this to bring your arms crossed, you'd think something must be wrong with your arms. Our arms simply go in. It's an active movement. So when you take your feet and you force them into a lotus position like this, you have to ask, was it your knees and hips that wanted this position, or was it the will of the head and the hands? What you really want is the ability for the legs to choose the lotus position. Like if I'm in the air like this, my legs should want to come into the lotus position like that. And if they can't come in of their own free will, then you have to ask, was it a good idea? So same thing in the upward facing dog. If your back is happy being in this shape by itself, then that shape in the air is good, but you wouldn't go down further. So find a position your body wants to do. But what you really want is to be able, so you've got the back bend happening before the pose. So before you even get to that position, and you can try this again now, do this position. Round out the lower back, upper back, push the pubic bone down and forward, expand the belly, chest, and lean back. And if you hold this position for a little while, with your chin in, neck back, lift the collarbone, expand the front, and check front firm, side soft, breathe into the abdomen, and check fingers can move, shoulders can roll, neck is free, pelvic floor relaxed. And if you hold this for a few moments, this is the feeling you want in the upward facing dog. Here your back is quite relaxed. And having done this for a little while, then come onto the floor, do the same thing on the floor. You start with a forward bend, push the pubic bone forward and expand the front. Simple push up to up dog. Or the forward bend can be the simple plank. Push the pubic bone forward, armpits to thighs, which could become the simple push-up, half push-up. And then from there, pubic bone down, collarbone up, the upward facing dog on the knees or off the knees. On the knees is a nice alternative because you can push your pubic bone down more easily and expand the belly. But like I said, here my front is firm, my sides are soft, and that's challenging. Then to come back from the up dog, it's important not to let the back squash. So what you'll see me do, and I'll come back to a cobra so you see it's easiest, I always come back from my core. The lower back is going to come back to the dog pose first. Watch, as I lift up, it's the lower back I lift up first. And then I come back to the downward facing dog. What you don't want to move from is the tailbone. So if I'm in the up dog and I lift my tailbone up, that squashes the back. So what I want to make sure of is I come up from my lower back, this bit. So watch, as I come from there, I round out the lower back. There, I come back to the down dog. So same in the up dog. From the upward facing dog, it's the lower back that lifts me back to the down dog, as opposed to not the tailbone. If the tailbone lifts back, that's when you're going to get problems. So you come from the upward facing dog, round out the lower back, upper back, and it's helpful to come to the kneeling plank at this point, but you don't have to. Really sense that's lengthened, and then downward facing dog. And you gaze at the navel. And then once you've got that, and you can see your navel, like I said at the start, that makes all the difference. Now, when we're practicing these movements then, let me finish, or move to the end of the talk, with a simple version of the salute to the sun. And you can see this in the Yoga Synergy YouTube channel, and it's called Anti-Gravity Salutes, where I do 3 versions of the salutes. And one of them is a simple version that you can do whenever you like. It doesn't require putting your hands on the floor. But let me go through them. Simple version, middle version, harder version, back to simple version. And I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to do it again. I'll do the version you know, a simple version, a harder version. But I'll use the simple options that you've seen before. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or I do the same thing with the easiest form of all those poses. And it's like this. And this is a lot easier and it's very accessible. Copy me again. Remember, face me, but you don't have to. I'm facing sideways so you can see. And you don't need to move your head. We'll do it twice. The first time, keep your eyes on me. The head movements are optional. So we go 1, 2, the forward bend. Instead of hands to the floor, just here. 3, the lower Larsen, instead of handstand, just here. 4, instead of push-up, just straight spine like that. 5, instead of up dog, lean back. 6, round out from the lower back, come to the downward facing dog like this, and look at the navel. 7, go forward. 8, bend forward again. 9, come up, belly, chest, throat, expand. And 10, come back down. So do it again. This time you add the idea that you're moving always from the core, either rounding out the lower back or expanding the belly. And at later stages, you pull in the lower abdomen, and then the head can move last. So 1, I round out the lower back, and then I expand the belly, chest, and throat. 2, I round out the lower back, draw in my lower abdomen, bring the arms into a forward bend, then optionally head down. 3, I keep the back expanded and expand the belly, chest, and throat handstand. 4, I come to a push-up position, straight spine. 5, I expand first the back, then expand the front, the upward facing dog pose. 6, lower abdomen in, lower back out, come back to the downward facing dog pose. Gaze at the navel. 7, jump forward. 8, bend forward, lower abdomen in, head down, forward bend. 9, expand the back foot, the belly, chest, and throat. 10, lower abdomen in, come back down, Samasthiti. This I can do, once I've done it like that, once you've done it like that, you'll find the fuller version easier. So now do either that first version, middle version, second version, that easier version, or a more complex version. So 1, you can keep the shoulders forward, but take the arms out to the side if you wish, but look how high I lift the shoulders, expand belly, chest, and throat. 2, bend forward in the spine first, hips second, head third, hips last if you wish. 3, keep the back rounded, expand the belly, chest, and throat. Breathe into the abdomen. 4, the push-up position, kneeling or full. 5, keep the back long, expand the front, breathe into the abdomen. 6, round out the lower back, upper back, come back to the downward facing dog, gaze at the navel. 7, legs to hands in silence, stepping or jumping, keep the back expanded, front expanded. 8, rather, bend forward, knees bent. 9, keep the back long, and then expand. Shoulders past the ears. And then 10, lower abdomen goes in as you come down. So if you did all those modifications, my recommendation is if you're doing a bunch of salutes, you don't have to start with the hardest one. Otherwise, the practice is not joyous. You have to think that the purpose of yoga, if you want to call it yoga as opposed to exercise, is that you're trying to manifest yama and niyama. Ashtanga means 8 limbs. And the first limb is yama. What is the yama? It's not just non-violence, non-lying, non-stealing, no sex, and no attachment. It's the opposite of all those things. It is about gentleness. It's about balance. It's about giving, not taking. It's about making loving connections, and it's about creating freedom. This is the real expression of yama. So when you're doing your practice, what are you doing? Not a bunch of don't do's. You're doing a practice where you're supposed to feel a gentle, balanced giving of nourishing, loving connection and freedom. As soon as you feel stretch or tension, you lose that sense of freedom. And then the niyama, the second stage of yoga, is not just cleanliness, contentment, tapas, which is sometimes do your best and study hard and devotion to some external principle. It's not. It's about cleanliness means unblock the blockages of good energy and loving information. Tense less, stretch less, breathe less, think less, but still be strong and flexible. Contentment means you can choose your mood. It's your choice. You can make a practice which feels good. You can be flexible about making it feel good. How you feel is always your choice. Happiness is a good choice, and happiness is something you can choose, not something you wait for. Then tapas, according to BKS Iyengar, who I studied with for many years, he said tapas is a passionate desire. It's about passion. And when you're passionate about something, you always do your best, but you want to do your best. It's like a mother is passionate about looking after her child, but sometimes any mothers out there know that it's a lot of work, but you do it out of love. It's a burning, passionate desire. Then self-study is about looking into yourself for the real meaning of what you're doing. So the important knowledge in yoga, they talk about Vedanta as having two types of knowledge always in the world. There's the important questions to answer. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why are you here? Where are you going? Well, the who are you, a nice expression is that if we recognize we're all connected as one in yoga, then we are consciousness having an experience in this body, in this life. And why are we here? Well, I think a good reason to be here is to sort of reestablish that connection in this earthly manifest living form and recognize we're all connected as one. And so I make my personal practice one where I feel my body is connected. And when I feel my body is connected in the best possible way, which is by sharing good energy and loving information inside my body, which means make good, healthy blood flow without the heart racing, without breathing too much, without overdoing any of the nervous system and staying calm. That's good energy, loving information. It's good blood flow with low heart rate and a dominance of your parasympathetic nervous system. And that idea of sharing good energy and loving information inside myself, I call my Ashtanga yoga, my Vinyasa yoga, my yoga. That's a model for my life. So that when you finish a practice, you should feel so good, so nurtured, that you want to share that with the world around you. Is that how you're finishing your practice? Because if you're overstretching, if you feel a stretch, it's the step just before pain, which is the step just before injury. If you have the mentality of no pain, no gain, survival of the fittest, these are outdated mythologies. These are things that will not lead you to yoga, just lead you to possible injury in the physical body and stress in the long term. So practice in a way where you don't have pain, where you only feel pleasure, and be enjoying the journey, not the destination. So when we're doing something like, say, a hamstring stretch, so if I take my right leg forward and left leg back, for Parshvottanasana, for example, it's important you protect the hamstring. You do it in a way where you're not doing anything to upset it. So what I'll do is I'll push my right sitting bone toward the right foot. Try this. Push your sitting bone into the foot, then bend forward from the spine first, not the hips. So see, my hips are not moving, just the spine. Keep the chin up. Then bend forward the hips. And notice how far you go down. And when you come up, it helps if you bend the knee and push the hip forward to come up. That's what I'll recommend. But if instead of pushing the sitting bone toward the heel and bending from the spine first, you try to, what many people teach, push your sitting bones backward and up. Try it. Still right leg forward, left leg back. Push your sitting bone backward and up. Open the chest, fold forward the hips. You'll feel the hamstrings start to feel a lot more stretchy. Bend the knees, come back up. You get to the same distance, but it hurts. Avoid the pain, avoid the risk. Push your sitting bones into your feet. Relax your pelvic floor. Bend forward from the spine first, but expand the belly, lift the throat. See, my lower back is bending forward. Then bend forward from the hips while pushing your sitting bone into your foot like a hammer presses a nail. Breathe into the abdomen. Bend the knee, push the hip forward, come back up. Go on the second leg. Put left leg forward, right leg back. I'll turn sideways so you can see. My suggestion when bending forward is to relax the pelvic floor, push your sitting bones into their respective feet. Left sitting bone, push into the left foot. Right sitting bone, push into the right foot. And as you go forward, Push the sitting bone toward the foot and bend forward first from your lower back, not the hips. Then, as you're doing that, expand the belly, lift the throat, and then bend forward from the hips. And notice how the hamstring is protected. If you relax your quadriceps, the hip is also a little bit softer. Then from there to come back up, push the sitting bone toward the foot to come up. Easiest way of doing that is bending the knees to come up. Try what I'll call the less easy way. Nothing is wrong or right, but the way that tends to cause problems. But often I hear people teach this. Bend forward by lifting your sitting bones, folding forward from the hips. Pull your abdomen in and open the chest, and you'll feel it feels uncomfortable in the back, stressful to breathe, and the hamstring stretches a lot more. You don't get nearly as far without discomfort. Bend the knee, come back up. You want to go further, feel better. Then push the sitting bones into the feet, relax the pelvic floor, like you're trying to stretch the mat with your feet, but your pelvic floor is relaxed. Then bend forward from the spine first, but keep your abdomen expanded and your throat forward, chin up. And notice, again, I've got front firm, side soft, like a half sit-up. Then bend forward from the hips while pushing sitting bone toward the feet. And then from there, when you come up, push the sitting bone to the feet to come back up. Normally you can bend the knees. I don't have to. You don't have to, provided you know what you're doing. This is a good thing to know. Then you've got to think about how you're going to protect your knees. One of the best ways to protect your knees is to co-activate the muscles around the knees, to tighten the muscles around the knees. Now, many of you have seen my videos before. You've seen my free downloadable knee exercise. Let me quickly go through that. But then use it in the poses. So to get this feeling, lean on your right leg, come to the left toe tip, round the back out, lead from your core, step back the left leg, twist your belly button to the right and shift the weight to your right leg. Then turn the left thigh in, shift the weight back to your left leg, then lean on your right leg, keep the back rounded out, the hips level, and turn your left thigh in, lift the leg up. Now turn sideways so you can see. What I want you to practice is hands on the top of the hips. Notice my thumb is touching my hips and I'm turning my knee out and in. Notice the top of my hip is not moving, it's my thigh that's moving in the hip socket. So once you've learned that, see what happens. What I want you to practice mostly is turn your thigh in. Notice how that releases the buttocks and hardens the hamstring. Turn your thigh out. Notice how the buttocks goes hard, hamstring goes soft. Generally, when the hip is extended, it is better to turn the thigh in and you harden the hamstring and relax the buttocks. And that feeling is one that will stabilize the knee. Now, if you want to, you can pull up the kneecap, spread the toes, pull the outer foot to the knee, and that will harden all around the leg. And then if you bend the knee and you pull the heel against the thigh, squashing the forearm, that can really turn the knee. Try with the other leg. So you shift the weight onto your left leg, come to the right toe tip, round the back out, lean back onto your right leg, twist your belly button to the left rather, then shift the weight to the left leg, turn your right thigh in, then shift the weight to the right leg, keep your back rounded out, I'm turning sideways so you can see, expand your abdomen, then shift the weight to your left leg and lift the right leg off the floor. With the hands and the hips, practice turning the right thigh out, then in. Notice my hip is not moving. And you don't want to lift it up and down. Then when you turn your right thigh in, you open the sacroiliac joint, relax the buttocks and tighten the hamstring. When you turn the right thigh out, the buttocks goes hard and the hamstring goes soft. Better for your knees and sacroiliac joint, for most people, if you turn your right thigh in, release the buttocks, harden the hamstring, and you can tighten the knee more by pulling up your kneecap, spread the toes, pull the outer foot to the knee, and move your thigh inwards. You may want to play this video several times over to hear that again. So round the back out, breathe into the abdomen. Notice when you turn your thigh in, your abdomen firms a bit as well, if you know exactly what to do. Then bend the knee, and a good thing to do, and you may want to hold a wall, is you tense the back of the knee by putting your knee underneath the elbow underneath the knee and squash the arm. And that feeling is something that you can learn in the more advanced practices of Ashtanga Yoga when you do things like Bhujasana. So Bhujasana takes the shoulder under the knee and you squash the shoulder. You could just squash the arm, you could just squash the shoulder, and you learn how to do this, where you lift up off the ground and you squash the arm. So by squashing the arm and then eventually coming to Ashtavakrasana like this. This movement is something you also want to do in poses like Janu Sirsasana. So as I take my leg back, I don't just grab my foot and pull it back. When I bring my leg back, I bring it back with my leg. So as I do that, I'm tightening the back of the knee. And if you just come into Janu Sirsasana like that, the knee is a lot happier than if you do this. It's an active movement. One more thing, and then I need to go home and have breakfast because it's 10:30 at night. It's breakfast time. And this is the Surya Namaskar B has Virabhadrasana to the warrior pose. It's one of the most misunderstood postures. So the Virabhadrasana 2 has right leg forward and left leg back. And in this position, the back leg should be doing what we did in the air. It should be trying to turn the thigh in, which will tighten your hamstring and release the sacroiliac joint. I want you just to start with the right leg forward, left leg back, lean slightly toward the right leg. Now from this position, put the hands on the hips, keep the hips level, but now try and turn the left thigh in. So you're trying to, from your thigh joint, turn it in. Now that can be done in 3 ways. It can be done like I'm doing now, turning the thigh in, but you can also squeeze the big toe in and the heel out. If you're going to do that, it helps if you pull up your kneecap a bit first. Then turn the thigh in, squeeze the big toe inwards and the heel outwards. Now you'll feel your hamstring goes tight. Your pelvis goes soft. And that allows you then to bend the knee safely and push the tailbone back and move the belly forward. Because what you want here is a back arch. So when you do this, as you turn your thigh in at the joint, push your tailbone backward, then move your belly button forward, your collarbone up. Then the back is not squashed. Now to make it less squashed even more, move the shoulders forward and up, the elbows up and back, and then expand the belly, chest, throat. Gaze up, but keep your foreheads relaxed. So in this position, you're trying to do the following things. Push your sitting bones into your feet, relax the pelvic floor. Try and turn your left thigh inwards, and that will harden your hamstring, protecting your knee. Release your sacroiliac joint. Push the tailbone backward, don't tuck it under. A happy dog has the tailbone going back, not tucked under. And then expand the belly and breathe into the abdomen. Move your collarbone forward and up. Move your shoulders forward to release the neck, upward to release the back, and then lengthen the tips of your fingers, which become like the crown chakras. Relax your forehead, but look up gently and softly. Breathe into the abdomen. Then to come out of the pose, bring the chin in, bend the left knee, now turn the thigh in and push the pubic bone down. Then it's safe to lower the arms. You should feel warm, but notice I was talking very calmly through it. So the next side, the second side, left foot forward, right foot back. And then from this position, left foot forward, right foot back. Someone's trying to ring me from India. And so the left foot turns in slightly, right foot turns out. And then from there, make the top of the hips level, but let your sitting bones move apart into the feet. So I give this expression, push your sitting bones apart, relax the pelvic floor. And that relaxing of the pelvic floor allows the Mula Bandha to take place, because then when you release the anal muscle and the urethra, the perineum becomes active. And you can feel it actually if you touch your perineum and you push the sitting bones apart, then breathe into the abdomen low, you'll feel the perineum expand. And that's part of the Mula Bandha. Then from there, with the top of the hips level, the right foot turning out, get a sense that your right thigh is trying to turn inwards, which gives that hardening of your hamstring and inner thigh and releases your sacroiliac joint, which opens your parasympathetic nervous system then, keeps you calm and your internal organs working, and it strengthens your knee. But if you want to really get a good strong effect, you have to also tighten the front of the thigh. So what you can do, provided it feels okay, is pull up the kneecap, turn the thigh inwards, and then turn your big toe forward and your heel outwards. So big toe squeeze in, heel squeeze out. Then with the pelvic floor relaxed, push the tailbone backward and down. Move the belly button forward and up, the chest forward and up, the shoulders forward and up, the throat forward, chin up, and the armpits, elbows up and back. Lengthen the tips of the fingers, and when the fingers are lengthened, the blood flows to the fingers. So here it's like working with a chakra system. Push the sitting bones apart, relax the pelvic floor, activates Muladhara chakra. Push your tailbone backward, open the sacroiliac joints by turning your right thigh in, and it releases Swadhisthana chakra. Expand the belly, breathe into the abdomen, opens Manipura chakra. Lift the collarbone. Once the breath fills the abdomen, it can go to the chest, especially if the shoulders are lifted, and that will give you the Anahata opening. Then move your throat forward, chin up, lengthen the front of the neck without shortening the back for an expansive Jalandhara Bandha to open Vishuddhi chakra. Then soften the forehead for the Ajna chakra. Your eyes can gaze upwards if you wish to the tips of the fingers, but without tensing the forehead. Then lengthen the tips of the fingers and the crown of the head for the crown chakra. Soften the throat, face, and eyes. But if you were to do the mistake here, don't do it unless you really want to try it, will be to pull the shoulders down and back, to tuck the tailbone under. If you tuck the tailbone under, you'll damage your knee. If you pull the shoulders down, you squash your back. So have the right thigh turned in, tailbone back, belly out, shoulders forward and up, throat forward, chin up. Breathe into the abdomen. Let the air out, and then bring the chin in. Bend the knee, turn the right foot in, pubic bone forward and lower back down. My suggestion is you keep it simple. So just to finish for tonight, I'd like you to try that simple salute once again. And what I'll also give you is a version of that simple salute, which includes side bend and twist. So when we're doing side bends and twists, it helps if you do the movements active first. I want you to try this simple movement. So take the right foot forward, left leg back, bend the right knee, and we do Parshvakonasana. So if you comfortably wish, you can take your arms out and come into your version of Parshvakonasana. And then come back up and do the same shape actively. So the same shape actively will look like this. Bend your knees, lengthen the back of the body, drop the left hip and lengthen the left side of the body. Then shift the weight to the left leg, come to the right toe tip, round the back out, bring the right armpit forward, look at the floor for balance, grip with your toes for balance, take the left arm forward and up higher, drop the hip and lift up the right knee if you can, pause for a few moments. This is the feeling you should have in Parshvakonasana. Breathe into the abdomen. Check your fingers are lengthened but can move. Your shoulders apart but the shoulders can roll. Neck lengthened but free. Pelvic floor relaxed and the pubic bone should be able to roll. Back lengthened and the abdomen should be able to breathe, or at least the lower abdomen should be able to roll. Notice the warmth that comes. Come out of the pose and notice now, if you do the Parshvakonasana in a similar way, it feels different. So this time, lean the right leg, round the back out, step back your left leg. Bend the left leg, lengthen the back of the body on the left side. Take your right arm to the left and then come into the pose like I'm doing now. Notice it's a lot softer, a lot easier. Release, come back up. Body feels warm. You feel warmed up, try the second side. Left leg forward, right leg back. These are the secrets of how to come into poses, but you have to know what's going on the inside if you do it like most people do it. If you come into pose, Parshvakonasana on the left side, left leg forward, right leg back. If you do it like this, pull on the abdomen, lift up the chest, bend the left knee, take the arm over the head, come into the pose. It's a stretch. But if you come in softer, it's not a stretch. So to come in softer, have the legs a bit closer, bend both knees, round the back, bend forward first, twist your navel to left, bring the right arm forward and up. Then bring your belly button to the right, twist the left arm to the right. Here is the Parshvakonasana. If comfortable, then come into the pose and notice it's easier. Come back up. Even easier still is if you do the version from standing. So the version from standing, legs hip width, round the back out, and take the right arm forward and up, drop the right hip, knees bent, round the back out, belly open. Then from there, twist the belly button to the right, shift the weight to left leg, right leg come to left toe tip, and then lengthen the back of the body, the right side of the body. Look, my arm, forward and up past the ear on the left side. Then stay or look at the floor for balance, grip with the toes for balance, and come up into the shape of Parshvakonasana. Breathe into the abdomen. Soften the throat, face, and eyes. Then from that position, relax fingers, shoulders, neck, pelvic floor, turn sideways so you can see what I'm doing. Could be on the toe tip, could be in the air. Then come out of the pose. Notice the warmth without the heart racing. This is the good energy and loving information. Then step your left leg forward, round the back out. Step back with your right leg. Lengthen the back of the body on the right side. Twist the belly to the right and come into the pose softer, easier, no stress. Expand the belly, chest and throat. Look at the right fingers and your pose is done. Come up. I could do the same thing and show you how when you're doing something like the revolving triangle, that position is actually learned best from the core by doing a forward bend, twist to right, a backward bend, twist to right, shifting the weight to the left leg, coming to right toe tip and lifting up in the air. And if you hold this position for a few moments first, it teaches you this is the same as this. And it's so much easier if you do it first. Bend the knee, come back up. So on the left side, and I'm going quicker here, so you may not be able to follow this until you look at it and try it later. That if you just were to use gravity to drop the body into this pose, and a pulling action to twist, that's going to cause a stretch reflex in your body. That's going to make the body react with tension. So if you want your body not to react with tension, you have to invite it to know what to do. And that means move your body actively with its own muscles. Don't let your body be a victim of external forces like gravity, one limb pulling another, or momentum. And when you're moving into a pose then, make it so your movements all start from the core. And the core is your spinal movements, which we're going to finish with. The core is the simple movement from all here, which is in yoga, in Indian yoga is called the khanda, in here. In Chinese yoga, it's called the dantian. In Japan, called the hara. It's the seat of all the nadi origins. It's the region between Muladhara chakra, Swadhisthana chakra and Manipura chakra inside. So we move from the core and we begin in this position. I round the back out, twist the belly button to left, then I expand. Then I shift the weight to the right leg, bring the pubic bone to the right, and perhaps lift the leg off the floor. Now you can see this shape is the same as Parivrtta Trikonasana. I could even do this shape. It's the same, turning my right thigh in. So these positions, I'm not using gravity to come in the pose. I'm using my own body to choose what it wants to do. Either this one or this one will work. I'm turning from my core. I'm breathing from my core. But the firming action is taking place. So as I twist, it firms my core. But I'm breathing from my core. I'm moving from my core. My core becomes firm because I'm mobilizing it, not locking it. Then from there, then I come in the pose and it's so much easier. Okay, so I'm giving you a message summary. Purpose of yoga, to recognize we're connected as one, starting within ourselves and share it with the world. How are you going to do that? Start in the practice by sharing good energy and loving information through your body, by making blood flow through a stable structure that feels good and keeping your nervous system calm. Once it becomes stressful, then you've lost the yoga. It becomes exercise. So things that recognize as stress, the body thinks is stress, are increased heart rate, increased amount of breathing, increased stretch or tension. Yes, you want to get flexible, but not by feeling stretchy. Yes, you want to get stronger, but not by feeling tense. Yes, you want to make blood flow, but not by increasing heart rate. The adage of all the yoga around the world is that the yogi counts their life not by the number of years they live, but by the number of breaths they take. So tense less, stretch less, breathe less, think less, make your heart beat less, while making blood flow more, increase your mobility, your freedom, and a sense of action from your core, not locking the core. Let's finish with a simple set of spinal movements. I'll begin with the simple salute movements, and then I'll do the spinal movements, including the side bend and twist. And this is a really good warm-up for your normal salute. And you can include this as part of your warm-up for your normal Ashtanga practice if you wish. Start with what I'll give you as a simple salute to the sun again. Ekam, 1, Dve, 2, Trini, 3, Chatwari, 4. Start again. I'll say it in English. 1, arms up. 2, bend forward. 3, Lolasana. 4, push-up position. 5, upward facing dog. 6, downward facing dog. 7, jump forward. 8, bend forward. 9, arms up. And 10, back to the middle. Now follow my simple spinal movements. Here, short spine, long spine, dog pose. Expand, relax. Forward bend, shortening the front like Lolasana. Backward bend, lengthen the front like upward facing dog. Draw the lower abdomen in and again, lengthen the whole trunk like the dog pose. Shorten the front. Now like Parshvakonasana, lengthen the left side. And again, come back to the center, be like in a dog pose. Shorten the trunk. Now lengthen the right side, like Parshvakonasana again. And bend the knees, come back to the center. Come back up, lengthen like dog pose, and then go forward again. Lengthen the back of the body, twist to the right. Expand the front of the body, twist to the right, belly button to right, pubic bone to left. Then draw the lower abdomen in, bring the navel back to the center, and expand the back like Lolasana. Expand the front like up dog or Ustrasana. Lower abdomen in, pushing the back, and chest and abdomen in, pushing the front. Expand the back, twist to the left. Expand the front, twist to the left. Twist the pubic bone to right, belly to left, and then bring the pubic bone and left arm under the right. Again, like Lolasana. Expand the back, then expand the front like up dog or the camel. Lower abdomen in, pushing the back, pushing the front. Again, back lengthen, front lengthen, breathe into the abdomen, and then come forward and down. This time just follow my clicks and movements. One click means follow. Keep your eyes on me. Face towards me. I'm just turning sideways so you can see. Lengthen and relax. Namaste. I hope that was of some value to you. If you want more, then keep an eye. If you haven't received my newsletters, then go to simonborgolivia.com and subscribe to my newsletter. And you might consider getting our course on Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, and I'll send you a link as to where that is. And maybe I'll see if anyone has any questions. I'll walk up to the computer. You might not see me. And what I've got is, where is it? So we've got lots of nice questions. Beautiful hellos from all over the world. Thank you for being here. And sorry about the sound at the start. Yeah, I think I didn't realize that the YouTube was playing in the background. And okay, so then okay. Okay, so thank you for staying with me at the end. Okay, so yeah, sorry about the start. Good, yay, thanks Steph. Thanks Steph for fixing it up at the beginning. And I'm so sorry. It's not that I don't realize that my sound, Talia, I know you've told me several times when my arms go up, the sound cuts out. I can't help it. I'm so sorry. I do have a second mic to pick it up, but that's on a different camera, so I'll give you that at some point somewhere else. And thank you for all your kind comments at the end. And I really appreciate all your help. And yeah, I hope that some of you tolerated that sound at the start. Thank you very much, and look after yourselves. And what I'll do is I'm just going to give you a copy of the link to the sequence if you want to go to it. Where is it? And I've got like a copy of the sequence. And the sequence I want to give you, not the sequence rather, if you want to get this course, you can go to the following address, and you'll find you can click onto the website at the following address and go to, did I get it through? Maybe. And you can get my course on Ashtanga at, yeah. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. It's just, there is so much in all of this, but hopefully some of what I've said helped. It's taken me decades to come to this understanding, but I'm 61 years old this year, and I want to make the practice last for a long time. I want my body to stay good and healthy, and my internal organs and my mind. And yoga is such a beautiful thing. And whether you do strict Ashtanga yoga, or you make it Vinyasa yoga, or just simple Hatha yoga, or just do simple movements, the principles I've given you are sound principles which come from all Indian yoga traditionally. Chinese system, Japanese system, indigenous Australian Aboriginal system, the same, and it's the basis of sound exercise-based physiotherapy. Thank you very much, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here, and sorry once again for the noise at the start. I'll see you another week. Bye.